The morning sun was just beginning to rise over the Afghan mountains when Chief Petty Officer Marcus Rodriguez received the call that would change everything. His SEAL team had been stationed at Forward Operating Base Chapman for 3 months, conducting reconnaissance missions along the Pakistan border. But this mission was different. Intel suggests a high-value target is moving through the valley, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mitchell briefed the team in the operations tent. We have a narrow window to gather intelligence on a suspected weapons cache that's been supplying insurgents in the region. Rodriguez looked around at his team. There was Petty Officer James Tank Washington, their heavy weapons specialist whose massive frame could carry equipment that would break lesser men. Next to him sat Hospital Corpsman Second Class Maria Santos, their medic, whose steady hands had saved more lives than anyone could count. Finally, there was Petty Officer First Class David Chen, their communications expert and the youngest member of the team at just 24. The mission seemed straightforward enough. They would insert via helicopter under cover of darkness, establish an observation post on a ridge overlooking the suspected cache location, and gather intelligence for 48 hours. What intelligence didn't tell them was that they weren't the only ones watching the valley. As their helicopter lifted off into the star-filled night, Rodriguez felt the familiar weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had led dozens of missions like this, but something felt different tonight. Maybe it was the unusually quiet radio chatter from command, or perhaps it was the way the pilot seemed more tense than usual. Whatever it was, his instincts were telling him to stay sharp. The helicopter touched down in a small clearing 3 kilometers from their target location. The team moved quickly and silently, their night vision goggles turning the darkness into a green-tinted world of shadows and movement. They had practiced this insertion hundreds of times, and within minutes, they were moving through the rocky terrain toward their observation post. Chen took point, his lean frame moving like a ghost through the underbrush. Behind him, Santos carried her medical pack alongside her rifle, ready for whatever the mission might bring. Tank brought up the rear, his M249 light machine gun ready to provide covering fire if needed. Rodriguez stayed in the middle, coordinating their movement and maintaining communication with base. The terrain was rougher than the satellite images had suggested. Loose rocks threatened to give away their position with every step, and the thin mountain air made even simple movements more difficult. But these were Navy SEALs, trained to operate in the world's most challenging environments, and they adapted quickly to the conditions. After 2 hours of careful movement, they reached their designated observation post. It was a natural rock formation that provided excellent cover while offering a clear view of the valley below. Rodriguez used his high-powered scope to scan the area, noting potential escape routes and defensive positions. Everything looked exactly as intelligence had described it. Chen established communication with base, while Santos and Tank set up their equipment. The cache location was visible in the distance, a series of buildings and structures that looked abandoned but showed subtle signs of recent activity. Tire tracks in the dirt, fresh footprints around the buildings, and most telling of all, the faint glow of electronic equipment visible through one of the windows. For the next 18 hours, they maintained their watch. The valley below seemed peaceful, with only the occasional bird or small animal disturbing the silence. But Rodriguez's years of experience had taught him to trust his instincts, and something still felt wrong. It was too quiet, too perfect. Tank was the first to notice something unusual. "Chief, I've got movement on the North Ridge," he whispered into his radio. "Approximately 1,500 meters out, but I can't get a clear visual." Rodriguez swung his scope toward the indicated position. At first, he saw nothing but grass and rocks. Then, almost imperceptibly, he caught a glimpse of something that didn't belong. It was just a flash, but it was enough to confirm Tank's observation. Someone else was watching the valley, and they were well-trained enough to almost avoid detection. Santos had been monitoring radio frequencies and picked up fragmentary transmissions in what sounded like Pashto. The signals were brief and heavily encrypted, but their presence confirmed that hostile forces were in the area. The team was no longer alone on the mountain. As the second day wore on, the situation became more complex. Intelligence had been wrong about this being a simple observation mission. The valley was clearly being used as more than just a weapons cache. Vehicle movement suggested it was an active staging area for operations, and the professional manner of the opposition indicated they were dealing with experienced fighters rather than local militia. Rodriguez made the decision to extend their observation period. They had enough food and water for another day, and the intelligence they were gathering was too valuable to abandon. But as evening approached, everything changed. Chen was monitoring communications when he picked up a transmission that made his blood run cold. "Chief," he whispered urgently, "I'm picking up radio chatter about a search operation. I think they know we're here." Rodriguez felt his stomach drop. Somehow their position had been compromised. Whether it was through electronic surveillance, local informants, or simple bad luck, their cover was blown. Within minutes, they could see flashlights and vehicle headlights moving in the valley below, clearly searching for their position. The team quickly began preparing for extraction, but Rodriguez knew it would take hours for helicopters to reach them, and they didn't have hours. As he watched through his scope, he could see armed figures beginning to move up the mountainside toward their position. They were about to be surrounded by an unknown number of hostile forces in terrain that offered limited escape routes. Tank checked his ammunition while Santos prepared their emergency medical supplies. Chen worked frantically to establish communication with base and coordinate extraction, but Rodriguez knew that their immediate survival would depend on their training, their teamwork, and perhaps a little luck. As darkness fell over the mountains, the SEAL team prepared for what could be the fight of their lives. They had no idea that their salvation would come from the most unexpected source imaginable, hidden in the grass 1,500 meters away, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal herself. The first shot came from nowhere, echoing across the valley like thunder. Rodriguez watched through his scope as one of the searchlights suddenly went dark, followed by shouts of confusion from below. Someone had just taken out one of their pursuers, but it wasn't anyone from his team. "Did you see muzzle flash?" Rodriguez whispered into his radio, scanning the darkness for any sign of where the shot had originated. His team confirmed they hadn't fired, which meant someone else was out there. And they had just engaged the same enemy forces that were hunting the SEALs. Tank adjusted his position to get a better view of the valley below. "Chief, I count at least 20 hostiles moving up 3 different routes. They're trying to surround us, but someone just disrupted their north approach." His voice carried a mix of confusion and hope. Santos was monitoring their radio frequencies when she picked up frantic communications in multiple languages. The enemy was clearly confused about what was happening. They had been expecting to find a 4-person SEAL team, not deal with additional shooters from unknown positions. Another shot rang out, this time from a completely different direction. A second searchlight went dark, and Rodriguez could see figures scrambling for cover in the valley below. Whoever was helping them was an expert marksman, capable of making precision shots at distances that would challenge even experienced military snipers. Chen had been trying to establish communication with their mystery ally, cycling through various frequencies, but received no response. "It's like they're not even using radio," he reported. "Professional discipline, or maybe they just don't want to talk." The enemy forces regrouped quickly, showing the kind of tactical awareness that confirmed Rodriguez's suspicion that they were dealing with experienced fighters rather than local militia. They began moving more cautiously, using cover more effectively, and coordinating their approaches to minimize exposure to the unknown sniper. But their mystery ally seemed to anticipate these changes. A third shot took out what appeared to be a squad leader, causing the entire advance to halt as the remaining forces sought better cover. Rodriguez realized that whoever was helping them understood infantry tactics and was systematically disrupting the enemy's command structure. As the night wore on, the situation evolved into a complex three-way engagement. The enemy forces were trying to locate and eliminate both the SEAL team and the unknown sniper, while the SEALs tried to identify their mysterious ally and coordinate with them. Meanwhile, their helper continued to provide precision fire support without revealing their position or identity. Rodriguez made the tactical decision to use the chaos to their advantage. "We're going to move to secondary position," he told his team. "Use the distraction to relocate and try to link up with whoever's helping us." The team began a careful movement across the rocky terrain, using the confusion in the valley to mask their relocation. Santos provided rear security, while Tank covered their flanks. Chen continued monitoring communications, trying to piece together the enemy's intentions from their radio traffic. During their movement, Rodriguez caught a glimpse of something that made him pause. Through his night vision, he saw a muzzle flash from a position that should have been impossible to reach undetected. Their ally wasn't just skilled, they were operating in terrain that would challenge even the most experienced Special Forces operators. The mystery deepened when Chen intercepted a transmission that changed everything they thought they knew about their situation. "Chief," he whispered urgently, "I just picked up chatter about a missing person. They're not just looking for us, they're looking for someone who escaped from them." Rodriguez felt the pieces of a larger puzzle beginning to come together. Their mysterious ally might not be another military unit at all. Someone had escaped from these fighters and was now turning the tables on their former captors. The precision marksmanship, the intimate knowledge of the terrain, and the systematic targeting of command personnel all suggested someone with serious military training who had personal reasons for being here. The fourth shot came just as the enemy forces were beginning to reorganize. This time, their ally took out what appeared to be a communications operator, further disrupting the enemy's coordination. Rodriguez could see the frustration and growing fear among the hostile forces as they realized they were being systematically picked apart by someone they couldn't locate or engage. Tank spotted movement on the ridgeline where they had first detected activity. "Chief, I've got visual on someone moving through the grass. Single person, moving like they know exactly where they're going." His voice carried a note of professional respect for the skill he was witnessing. Santos had been listening to the enemy radio traffic and picked up something significant. "They're calling for reinforcements," she reported. "Sounds like they want to withdraw, but someone's ordering them to stay and find whoever's shooting at them." The tactical situation was becoming more complex by the hour. The enemy forces were trapped between their desire to eliminate the SEAL team and their need to deal with the unknown sniper. Meanwhile, Rodriguez's team was trying to coordinate with their mysterious ally while planning their own extraction. As dawn began to break over the mountains, the advantage shifted again. Daylight would make it easier for the enemy forces to locate both the SEALs and their helper, but it would also allow Rodriguez's team to finally get a clear look at who had been saving their lives throughout the night. Chen received confirmation that extraction helicopters were inbound, but they wouldn't arrive for another 2 hours. The team needed to survive until then, and their best chance lay in coordinating with whoever had been providing fire support. Rodriguez made a decision that went against standard protocol but felt right given the circumstances. Using hand signals that any military-trained person would recognize, he began trying to communicate with their mysterious ally. He flashed signals indicating friendly forces, requesting coordination, and offering mutual support. To his surprise, he received an immediate response. A series of light flashes from the ridgeline confirmed that their ally was indeed military-trained and willing to coordinate. The signals were professional, concise, and showed intimate knowledge of special operations communication protocols. The enemy forces made one final push as the sun rose higher, clearly desperate to eliminate both targets before potential air support arrived. But now the SEALs and their mysterious ally were working together. and the result was devastating for the attackers. Rodriguez watched through his scope as precise sniper fire eliminated key personnel while his team provided supporting fire and tactical coordination. Within minutes, the enemy advance collapsed, and surviving fighters began a disorganized retreat toward the valley floor. As the immediate threat diminished, Rodriguez finally got his first clear look at their savior. Through his high-powered scope, he could see a figure moving through the grass with fluid, professional movements. The person was carrying what appeared to be a high-end sniper rifle and moving with the confidence of someone completely comfortable in hostile territory. But what shocked Rodriguez more than the professional competence he was witnessing was the realization that their mysterious ally appeared to be a woman. In a region where female combatants were rare, someone had not only survived captivity, but had turned the tables on her captors with lethal efficiency. As extraction helicopters appeared on the horizon, Rodriguez knew their immediate danger was over. But he also knew that their mysterious ally's story was far from finished, and the questions surrounding her identity and capabilities were just beginning. As the extraction helicopters circled overhead, Rodriguez made a decision that would haunt him for years. Instead of immediately calling for pickup, he signaled his team to hold position. Their mysterious ally had risked everything to save them, and he wasn't about to abandon her to face potential retaliation alone. "Chief, what are we doing?" Tank asked through the radio, watching the helicopters maintain their holding pattern. "Extraction is right there." Rodriguez kept his scope focused on the ridge line where their ally had last been visible. "We don't leave people behind," he replied simply. "Someone saved our lives tonight, and we need to make sure they're safe before we extract." Santos had been monitoring enemy radio frequencies and reported that surviving hostile forces were regrouping in the valley, apparently planning to search for the sniper who had decimated their ranks. "They're not giving up," she warned. "Sounds like they really want to find whoever was shooting at them." Chen worked to establish communication with their ally, cycling through various frequencies and emergency channels. Finally, on a military emergency frequency, he received a weak but clear transmission. "American Forces, this is Sergeant First Class Elena Vasquez, United States Army. I'm in need of immediate extraction." Rodriguez felt his blood run cold. An American soldier, apparently female, operating alone behind enemy lines with sniper capabilities that rivaled the best Special Forces operators he'd ever worked with. The questions multiplied faster than he could process them. "Sergeant Vasquez, this is Chief Rodriguez, SEAL Team 7. What's your status and how did you get here?" he transmitted back, his mind racing through the implications of what he was hearing. The response came after a long pause, and when it did, the voice carried years of pain and determination. "Chief, I've been a prisoner for 8 months. Escaped 3 days ago and have been working my way toward friendly lines. When I saw you were in trouble, I decided to help." 8 months. Rodriguez tried to comprehend what that meant. An American soldier had been held captive for 8 months in one of the most hostile regions in Afghanistan, had somehow escaped, and instead of focusing solely on her own survival, had risked everything to help his team. Tank had repositioned to provide overwatch on the valley approaches. "Chief, we've got movement down there. Looks like they're organizing search teams. Our friend is about to have company whether she wants it or not." Rodriguez made another command decision. "Sergeant Vasquez, we're coming to you. Mark your position and prepare for pickup. We extract together or not at all." What followed was one of the most challenging tactical movements of Rodriguez's career. Leading his team across rough terrain while coordinating with helicopters and maintaining communication with a soldier whose exact position was unclear, tested every skill they had developed over years of special operations training. Santos provided medical support planning, knowing that someone who had been a prisoner for 8 months would likely need immediate medical attention. Chen coordinated with air support to ensure clear communication channels. Tank maintained security, ready to provide covering fire for their movement and extraction. As they approached the ridgeline, Rodriguez finally got his first clear visual of Sergeant Elena Vasquez. What he saw challenged every assumption he had made about their mysterious ally. She was small in stature, probably no more than 5'4", but she moved with the fluid confidence of someone completely comfortable with her weapon and environment. Her equipment told a story of survival and adaptation. The rifle she carried appeared to be a modified M24, probably taken from enemy forces who had captured it from previous engagements. Her clothing was a mixture of military and civilian items, clearly assembled from whatever she could find during her escape. But what struck Rodriguez most was her eyes. Even from a distance, he could see the focus and determination of someone who had endured unimaginable hardship and emerged stronger. This wasn't just a survivor. This was a warrior who had turned captivity into an opportunity to strike back at her captors. When they finally made contact, Vasquez's first words weren't about her own situation. "Chief, there are at least 15 more prisoners being held in a facility about 10 kilometers south of here, American and Allied forces. I have intelligence on their location and security." Rodriguez felt the mission parameters shift completely. They had come here to gather intelligence on a weapons cache and ended up discovering an active prisoner operation with American forces being held captive. The strategic implications were enormous. Santos immediately began assessing Vasquez's medical condition, while Chen updated command on their situation. Despite 8 months of captivity, Vasquez appeared to be in remarkably good physical condition, though signs of malnutrition and stress were evident. Tank maintained security while Rodriguez debriefed Vasquez on her intelligence regarding the prisoner facility. Her information was detailed, tactical, and demonstrated the kind of observational skills that only came from advanced military training, combined with months of careful planning. "I was captured during a convoy ambush outside Kandahar," she explained while cleaning her rifle with practiced efficiency. "They moved us frequently, but I spent the last 4 months at the facility I mentioned. I memorized everything: guard rotations, facility layout, prisoner locations, supply schedules." Rodriguez realized they were dealing with someone extraordinary. Most prisoners focused solely on survival. Vasquez had turned her captivity into an intelligence-gathering operation, systematically preparing for both escape and eventual rescue of her fellow prisoners. The extraction helicopters had been holding position, waiting for the situation to clarify. As Rodriguez coordinated with command, it became clear that Vasquez's intelligence would trigger a major rescue operation, but they needed to get her safely back to base first. As they prepared for extraction, enemy forces launched one final attempt to locate and eliminate the group. But now they were facing not just a SEAL team, but also someone who knew their tactics, their routes, and their weaknesses better than anyone. Vasquez's precision fire eliminated the lead elements of the search team, while Rodriguez's team provided tactical coordination and security. The engagement was brief but decisive, with enemy forces quickly realizing they were outmatched and withdrawing deeper into the valley. During the helicopter extraction, Rodriguez learned more about the woman who had saved his team. Sergeant Elena Vasquez was a Special Forces sniper, one of the first women to complete the Army's sniper school. She had been deployed to Afghanistan as part of a female engagement team, working with Special Forces units to gather intelligence from local women. Her capture had been the result of a sophisticated ambush that suggested inside intelligence, but instead of breaking under interrogation, she had systematically gathered information about the prison facility and planned not just her own escape, but the eventual rescue of every prisoner being held there. As their helicopter flew toward base, Rodriguez looked at the small, determined woman who had changed everything. Her escape and subsequent actions would lead to a major rescue operation that would free dozens of prisoners and significantly disrupt enemy operations in the region. But more than that, Sergeant Elena Vasquez had demonstrated something that Rodriguez would never forget: that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected sources, and that true warriors never stop fighting, no matter what circumstances they face. The mission that had started as a simple intelligence-gathering operation had become something much more significant. They had discovered not just a prisoner facility, but also a reminder that in the darkest situations, extraordinary people could emerge to turn the tide when it seemed all hope was lost. As base came into view, Rodriguez knew that Vasquez's story was just beginning. Her intelligence would save lives, her courage would inspire others, and her skills would continue to serve her country. But first, she needed time to heal and recover from an ordeal that would have broken most people. The helicopter touched down as the sun set over the Afghan mountains, ending one of the most remarkable missions Rodriguez had ever experienced. They had gone into the mountains as a 4-person SEAL team and returned with a hero who had been fighting her own war for 8 months, waiting for the right moment to emerge from the grass and change everything.